I'm from Ontario State University. I'm a PhD candidate in environmental management program. I'm also a doctoral researcher in the same school. This is a paper we worked on with my advisor, Professor MEKEI, who is the chairperson of marketing department. He's also editor-in-chief of International Journal of Pharmaceutical and Healthcare Marketing. In this project, it's not my dissertation, but I'm very much interested in individuals' eco-sensitive behaviors. I'm also interested in business sustainability marketing, individuals' environmental risk perception and their predictors. This was one of the studies that we worked on with my advisor, Professor MEKEI. Let's start with a general overview of this presentation. I will first talk about environmental behavior, what it is. And I will talk about the purpose of this study, existing literature, about the subject matter and methodology we used, data, results of the study, and I will conclude with some recommendations for future studies. The relationship between human behavior and environment is obvious. It's undeniable. Brian Walsh, who is the senior writer for Time magazine, has very interesting articles about the environment, global warming, climate change, and how we can detect them, how we can solve the problems. He has very, very interesting articles, and in one of them, he states that human activity now shapes the Earth more than any other independent geologic or climatic factor. Our impact on the planet's surface and atmosphere has become so powerful that scientists are considering changing the way how we measure geologic time. I think this is very crucial, and this was the main purpose I got interested in this subject. I think this underlines the importance of this kind of studies. I have to move fast. I'm sorry. I wanted to talk more, but it's better to move on, I think. Let's talk about environmental behavior. The majority of environmental problems we are facing today, at least to a certain degree, direct or indirect results of individuals' everyday actions. Applications of the possible solutions to these widespread problems will need the full participation of individuals. Gaining society's support, which is not easy, but it will be only possible if we can understand the factors affecting individuals' behaviors towards acting in a more ecologically conscious manner. Okay, what is pro-environmental behavior? According to Albayrak et al., it is the efforts by individuals to limit damaging actions that can harm the physical and the natural environment. It is called with so many different names: conservation behaviors, environmentally friendly, environmentally significant sustainable behaviors, responsible environmental behaviors, but basically what they all mean the same thing. Environmentally significant behaviors such as driving, consumption, recycling, use of energy, waste disposal, all need to be altered to protect the environment. Environmental behavior has been research interests of many psychologists, sociologists over the more than 40 years. Specifically, last couple of years, we see growing amount of studies out there. Although there are many studies, there's a problem there. There has been very little attempt at distinguishing between different types of eco-sensitive behaviors. They are usually clustering them into one behavior. They ask the question: do you recycle? Do you drive to work? Do you how do you do your waste disposal? This kind of questions, and they cluster everything into one category as a environmental behavior. According to Stern, because the important causal factors may vary greatly across behaviors and individuals, each target behavior should be theorized and examined separately. Coming from this strategy, we wanted to construct a model and examine the relationships that link an individual's age, gender, socioeconomic status, and environmental values with different pro-environmental behaviors. So, the main objectives of this study are, first, determining predictor variables or 5 different pro-environmental behaviors. Those are buying pesticide-free fruits and vegetables, recycling cans and bottles, avoiding environmentally harmful products, driving less for environmental reasons, and saving water for environmental reasons. And we are trying to see if the predicting variables vary depending on the type of the behavior has been performed, these 5 behaviors. Now let's look at the literature very quickly. There are many, many studies out there on pro-environmental behavior. Some of them are down here, but there are so many more. According to Kalmus and Egyaman, they have a conceptual paper. It's a very interesting paper. They categorize possible factors, into 3 different sections: demographic factors, external factors such as institutional, economic, social, and cultural factors, internal factors such as pro-environmental knowledge, awareness, values, attitudes, motivations, emotions, and perceived responsibilities. Following their suggestion, for the purpose of this study, we are going to examine 4 critical determinants of pro-environmental behavior. For demographic factors, we are going to examine age and gender. For external factors, we are going to examine socioeconomic status, and internal factors, we will look into environmental values. I already mentioned Stern's statement that we should theorize each behavior separately. Also, in another study, again a conceptual paper, Steck and Black mentioned that promoting behavior change is more effective when one carefully selects the behaviors to be changed to improve environmental quality, and 2, examines which factors cause those behaviors. So we are following their suggestions and examining different behaviors. Let's look at socioeconomic status. This is one of the most widely used factors in environmental behavior research. This construct incorporates multiple variables such as objective features, for example, material wealth, access to resources, for example, education, income, and social perceptions of socioeconomic status. Many studies are reporting strong and positive correlation between environmental behavior and socioeconomic characteristics. And many are suggesting that education also is positively associated with environmentalism. Also, higher levels of environmentalism are associated with higher income levels. Those 2 are the components of socioeconomic status. So our first set of hypotheses are coming from this literature review, and from H1A through H1E, we state that there is a positive relationship between individual socioeconomic status and all 5 different eco-sensitive behaviors. I don't want to read each one of them, time constraint. Now let's look at gender. In general, women tend to be more concerned about environment than men. I apologize. This is not a good thing to say to this audience. No, you don't. I can just skip these slides. I'll be in trouble.
You know why? Because they want to make more money by recycling the household.
That's a good point. Studies also have shown that women are more sympathetic than men to environmental concerns, and majority of studies have found that women have at least a modestly higher level of concern for the environment. Typical theoretical approach to explain these gender differences and attitudes towards the environment is coming from socialization theory. This theory asserts that behavior and attitudes can be predicted from the process of socialization, and that individuals are shaped by the context of cultural norms and expectations for their gender. For instance, women are socialized to be more expressive. We talk too much. have a greater concern for caregiving, more interdependent, compassionate, nurturing, cooperative, and helpful. And on the contrary, men are socialized to be independent and competitive. From this logic, we can state our second set of hypotheses as women act more pro-environmentally more often than men. For each behavior, we are stating the similar statements. Okay, for age, there is a complex relationship between age and environmental behavior of individuals. Some studies out there are reporting positive relationship. Some out there are inconclusive. But majority of them, for example, Schultz's study is very interesting. This is a recent study on littering behavior. Their study showed that age negatively predicted individual littering. So that means that younger you are, you litter more. Following their suggestion, we are also stating that there's a positive relationship between individuals' pro-environmental behavior and age. This is the last determinant that we examined. Environmental values. This is one of the most crucial predictors of pro-environmental behaviors. It is widely used in environmental behavior research. Values are defined as criteria that people use to select and justify actions and assign worth the objects and actions of others. Each person has his or her specific values that are shaped by experiences and learning processes. For example, people also express their values through their actions. If they value the environment more, they go and buy more pro-environmentally products than the others, or they recycle more. Following these suggestions of the literature, we are stating that there is a positive relationship between individuals' environmental values and all 5 different pro-environmental behaviors. The methodology we use in order to, from these hypotheses we develop, in order to examine the causal relationships between these identified variables and behavioral outcomes, we ran 5 multiple regression analyses, one for each of the eco-sensitive behaviors. This was our conceptual model. We thought that there's a direct relationship between the ones on the left-hand side are the predicting variables, and the outcomes are on the right-hand side, and 5 different behaviors. So the data we use, the data compiled from the 2010 National Opinion Research Center General Social Survey, GSS, of the University of Chicago. This is the only biannual full probability personal interview survey designed to monitor the social changes in the US. It is widely regarded as the single best source of data on social trends. We used 2010 data, included 2,044 individual interviews. And it also consists of module for the environment. It is widely utilized by academia, the US government, and the private sector. For example, AT&T, Sears, GE, they are all using this data set. Over 16,000 scholarly publications have used GSS up to now. Measurements for socioeconomic index, we use single index called socioeconomic index. It is given in GSS. They include education and income. For environmental values, GSS has environmental value questions. We grab the appropriate ones and we develop one single measure. We measured with 5 items. Those are listed, and negatively worded statements were reversed. For environmental behaviors, we measured with single questions. For example, how often do you recycle cans and bottles? How often do you buy pesticide-free fruits and vegetables? It was given that way. The answer choices were from always to never, a 5-point Likert scale type. And for gender... Oh, really? Oh my God. Okay. For gender, everybody maybe after food. They able to realize. Okay, For gender distribution of the sample of 2,044 respondents was 56.4% women and 43.6% men. Okay, these are the results. Results show that socioeconomic status had impact on recycling cans and bottles and avoiding environmentally harmful products. They were both supported, statistically significant results we found. You can, I don't know if you are able to see it, but they were supported. For gender, two of the behaviors, buying pesticide-free fruits and vegetables and avoiding environmentally harmful products, showed the gender differences played a role. Also, for this was interesting, for age-only recycling behavior, there was a relationship between those two. I think this was an interesting result. It was supported. For values, as you can see here, all of them were supported. It is a very important predicting factor. I think we should examine more values for maybe different behaviors. They were all supported. So these results show us what? Values can predict all 5 examined environmental behaviors. No other predicting variable explained all 5 behaviors. So what we can state here is that eco-behaviors of individuals are mostly affected by the environmental values they carry. For socioeconomic status, we found a positive correlation between socioeconomic status with recycling and avoiding environmentally harmful products. For gender, this was interesting because only for purchase behaviors we examined, 2 purchase behaviors we examined here, buying pesticide-free fruits and vegetables and avoiding purchase of environmentally harmful products. Gender differences played a role only for the purchase behaviors, not for the other ones. For age differences, it showed that recycling behavior had got affected by the age differences. So, there are some other studies in the literature looked at recycling and age differences. Here, our results are contrary to some of the studies, but it is also similar to some others. How we can explain this is that it is possible, depending on the type of the environmental behavior itself, the impact of age difference could vary. Also, cultural differences might influence how older or younger individuals approach social issues such as environmental degradation. Therefore, it is possible that studies developed in and conducted in different countries and in different regions of the world may give different results for the same behavior. To sum up, different pro-environmental behaviors have varying results in terms of gender, socioeconomic status, and age differences. The results although showed that all behaviors had an impact of values. This impact also varied depending on the type of the behavior. These results tell us the importance of defining and examining each environmentally sensitive action separately rather than clustering into one category. So for future recommendations, we can say that each behavior should be examined separately, and we may need more explanatory items. For example, cultural differences may be important. We can use same survey in different countries and contrast them. I think that might be an interesting study for the future. Also, externally imposed boundary conditions might be important. For example, for recycling, is it available? Is it convenient? These are all should be taken into account for the future studies. Thank you very much.